The fire breathes a long effluve of smoke into the cavern, its light pushing back against the damp, mineral scent of ancient limestone. This is the first fire they have kindled here, a fragile star in a new darkness. For this clan of early humans, it is the scent of victory. Hours ago, with hurled stones and sharpened sticks, they drove the masters of this place out into the dying light, a pack of giants who walk on for legs but laugh with a chillingly familiar cadence. Now, the hearth crackles where a den of bones once lay. A young female, clutching an infant to her chest, watches the entrance, her relief so profound it is a physical weight. Near the fire, an old male works a piece of flint, his scarred hands moving with an economy born of 1,000 repetitions. The sound is the clan's heartbeat, a steady, reassuring tink-tink-tink ink of stone on stone. They have found it, a fortress carved by water and time, high on a cliff face, overlooking a river valley teeming with the lumbering shapes of Pleistocene megafauna. This cave is more than shelter. It is a future. As the last purple stains of twilight bleed from the sky, the world outside changes, the familiar sounds of the day retreat, replaced by the symphony of the night, a composition of stealth and hunger. Very faint, high-pitched whoop echoes up from the valley floor. It is answered by another. Closer this time, the old toolmaker pauses, his head cocked. The hunters, cleaning blood from their crude wooden spears, meet each other's gaze over the flickering flames. This is not the sound of a lone scavenger. This is a call and response. It is communication. It is strategy. The air in the cave grows thick, heavy with unspoken dread. The primal fear of the dark is not a fear of emptiness, but of what it hides. Then, a new sound. The scrape of heavy claws on the rock ledge just outside the entrance. It is a deliberate, testing sound, followed by a low, guttural growl that seems to vibrate through the very stone beneath them. A silhouette blots out the stars. It is immense, bear-like in its sheer bulk, with a sloping back and a neck thick with muscle. Its head is a sledgehammer of bone, and its eyes, catching the firelight, burn with a cold, intelligent fury. This is Pieki Krokate, the giant short-faced hyena, and this is its home. It does not consider itself evicted, it considers them trespassers. Another shadow joins the first, and then a third. The cackling begins, a manic, terrifying chorus that is part threat, part mockery. They are not merely hungry, they are incensed. This is an organized assault, a coordinated effort to reclaim their territory, a grim chapter in hominid history. Panicked, cold and sharp, lances through the clan. A young hunter, no more than a boy, helms a rock. It clatters uselessly against the beast's thick skull. The lead hyena lunges, its jaws agape, revealing teeth designed not for slicing, but for pulverizing. Two hunters shove a burning log forward, and the creature recoils with a furious snarl, but not before its jaws snap shut on the leg of another man who was too slow to retreat. The sound is not of tearing flesh, but of a thick branch breaking underfoot, a wet, percussive crack. He screams, a sound of pure agony that is brutally cut short as he is dragged, thrashing, into the darkness. The clan can only watch, frozen in horror. The victory is ash in their mouths. They have not conquered a cave, they have stumbled into a war. The scream is gone, swallowed by the night. Silence rushes in to fill the void, a silence more terrifying than the chaos it replaced. It is a vacuum of absolute loss. The scent of blood hangs in the air, a coppery tang mixed with the acrid smoke of the disturbed fire. The clan is a frozen to blow of shock, their faces masks of fire-lit horror. They stare at the entrance, a gaping mouth that has just devoured one of their own. The hyena's laughter has subsided into low, rumbling growls, the sounds of a feast beginning just beyond the veil of light. This is a profound lesson in the calculus of prehistoric life. A moment's hesitation, a single misstep, is the difference between breathing and being born. The cave, their symbol of hope, has become a tomb in waiting. They are trapped. To flee into the darkness is to race into the jaws of the pack. To stay is to wait for the fire to wane and for the beasts to surge in. But fear, when it cannot be outrun, must be reshaped. The old toolmaker, the one whose hands never seem to rest, rises slowly. He does not look at the grieving mate of the fallen hunter. He does not look at the terrified young. He looks at the entrance, his eyes narrowed not with fear, but with a cold, analytical fury. He has seen a lifetime of death. He understands that grief is a luxury for the living, and they are not guaranteed that status for long. He picks up a long, half-bent birch. He gestures with it toward the wide mouth of the cave, then points to the hunters, their spears held in white-knuckled grips. The meaning is clear, a piece of primitive technology being conceived in the mind's eye. Their numbers are too few to defend such a wide opening against a coordinated pack. They cannot win this fight, so they must change the fight. A spark of understanding ignites in the eyes of the lead hunter. The rot era begins to recede, replaced by the grim focus of purpose. A plan, communicated in frantic gestures and urgent grunts, ripples through the clan. This is the essence of human evolution, the pivot from instinct to foresight. They begin to move. Two hunters, the quickest and bravest, drag the heavy logs kept for the fire toward the entrance. Others use their stone hand axes to break apart the rotten wood found deeper in the cave. The work is desperate, fueled by adrenaline. The sound of splintering wood and heavy stones being dragged across the floor fills the cavern. A defiant noise against the predatory sounds from outside. They are building a wall, a crude barricade of rock and timber, designed to narrow the entrance to a choke point, a kill zone no wider than a single man's shoulders. Through the agonizingly slow turning of the night, they labor. The old man oversees the most crucial task. He shows the others how to use their sharpest flint flakes to shave the ends of smaller branches into viciously sharp points. These are then wedged into the barricade. Angled outward a simple, brutal innovation. The first defensive spikes. It is an exhausting, bloody process. Splinters drop deep into their hands. The constant, looming presence of the hyenas just beyond their wall of labor is a palpable pressure. The beasts test the perimeter, their massive forms lunging into the firelight before being driven back by a thrown ember or a shouted threat. This is not a battle. It is attrition warfare, a contest of endurance and will. As the first hint of grey dawn filters into the sky, the hyenas finally retreat, their menacing calls fading with the shadows. The clan collapses, bleeding and exhausted, amidst the debris of their frantic creation. They have survived the night,
preparing to fight
but as they look at their crude fortress, they understand this is not an end. It is the beginning of a siege. Daylight brings no relief. Only a clear view of their exhaustion. Sleep comes in fleeting, haunted snatches. The clan spends the hours of sun not in rest, but in labor. They reinforce the barricade, gather more firewood until it is stacked high along the inner walls, and sharpen more stakes. Their hands rond bleeding. The fear from the first night has been baked by the sun into a hard, bitter resolve. They now understand the mind of their enemy. The pack is not a force of nature like a storm or a flood. It is a rival intelligence, an apex predator that thinks, plans, and learns. They are not just defending a location.
At last,
they are locked in a contest of wills that will define this chapter of hominid history. The hunters take turns watching the valley below, their eyes scanning for the hulking shapes. They see them, lurking at the edge of the tree line, watching the cave with an unnerving stillness, waiting for the sun to fail them again. Night falls like a shroud. The fire is built higher this time, a roaring beacon of defiance. The clan huddles behind their wall, spears ready, every shadow a potential threat. The hours crawl by. The familiar, mucking calls begin, but they are different tonight, more scattered, coming from multiple directions at once. It's a tactic of distraction, meant to splinter their focus. Then, a sudden, explosive crash against the barricade makes them all jump. A massive hyena, using its body like a battering ram, throws its full weight against their crude defenses. With groans, rocks shift. But the warhordes, They jab their fire-hardened spears through the gaps, and the beast retreats with a howl of pain and fury. A cheer, thin and reedy, rises in the cave, but it is a feint. While all eyes were fixed on the frontal assault, a scraping sound comes from above, from a place they thought unreachable. The narrow chimney, a flaw in the stone ceiling they had dismissed as too small, is now an open wound in their defense. Pale-eyed younger hyena, smaller than the brutes at the door, has scaled the cliff face. It drops into the back of the cave, a phantom of teeth and claws landing silently behind the women and children. A child's cry of terror is the only alarm. Panic erupts. The carefully held line at the entrance is broken as hunters spin around. Their fortress now a trap. The beast is a whirlwind of violence, snapping at the unprotected, turning their sanctuary into a slaughterhouse. This is the hard choice, the moment when strategy collapses. The lead hunter, seeing the monster lunging for the young female and her infant, doesn't hesitate. He abandons his post and hurls himself forward, not with his spear, but with his body. It is an act of pure altruism, a final, desperate move by one of our human ancestors. He collides with the hyena, a tangle of limbs and teeth. His scream is short as the creature's jaws find his throat. His sacrifice buys them seconds. It is all they need. The old toolmaker, with a chilling calm, grabs a burning log from the fire and shoves it into the face of the second hyena trying to squeeze through the chimney. The creature shrieks and falls back into the darkness. At the front, the remaining hunters, enraged by the loss of their leader, surge forward with a unified roar. They ram their spears through the barricade with a ferocity born of grief and desperation, finding their marks in the dense muscle of the battering ram beast. The night is filled with the agony of both man and monster. The pack, having lost two of its key members and faced with this unbreakable wall of violent resolve, finally breaks. The howls of pain and rage fade into the valley. The siege is over. In the silence that follows, the survivors stand in the flickering gore-spattered light of their cave. The cost is carved into their faces, into the empty spaces where two of their own once stood. But the air has changed. The scent of fear is gone, replaced by the smell of blood, smoke, and ownership. This is no longer just a cave. It is a home, consecrated by sacrifice. This crude wall of wood and stone, board of terror, is more than a defense. It is a declaration. It is the physical manifestation of foresight. The first blueprint for every fortress, every city wall, every locked door that would follow across the millennia. An idea has been given form, that the world can be reshaped to serve the needs of the clan. That brute force can be broken against the anvil of intellect and community. What we see here is not just the survival of a small band of Homo heidelbergensis. It is a pivotal moment in the deep, slow-burning story of human evolution. A testament preserved not in stone tools, but in the echoes of a hard-won peace. They proved that the most formidable weapon was never the sharpened stick, but the shared plan. And we, their distant children, are left to wonder how much of our instinct to build walls comes not from a desire for comfort, but from the memory of the monsters waiting just outside the firelight. I am the chronicler. We trace the ash of ancient fires, searching for the first sparks of us. But a fortress that keeps predators out can also trap its keepers in.